All right, everybody. It's time to get this discussion stream started. I don't know how long this is going to be, but I did say that I was going to be doing streams like this where I talk about the other series that's on my channel, aside from One Piece, because I know to a lot it seems like One Piece dominates a grand majority of things I have dedicated things to, such as, reaction streams, reacting to the anime, um, doing discussions about chapters we get within a month. So I also want to give a little some time over to the other series that I'm into as well, which is Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, got Dragon Ball Super, and One Punch Man. So I figured it'd be good to finally have that Jujutsu Kaisen discussion. Because I bring up Jujutsu Kaisen every now and again, but I don't go to the extent of talking about the series as a whole. And I feel like it needs to be said that Jujutsu Kaisen seems like that type of series where if you think things can get worse. Halster, good to see you as well. If you think things can get worse, they will. So, I'm just going to speak from like the whole Shibuya incident and then just talk about where we ended up and how we're at the state we are in right now. And I honestly want to know what you guys think of the story, of its pacing, of how they're doing characters. Do you like it? But that's something that I want to discuss with all of you. So, going from the whole Shibuya incident where um Gojo gets sealed, and really, it's really the Shibuya incident that kicks off everything where things can go from bad to worse at a moment's notice. Gojo gets sealed. Sukuna just massacres a ton of people while he's fighting Maharaga. Numerous people die. Nanami just gets completely obliterated because of Maito. Um, Numerous cursed spirits get obliterated. Numerous cursed spirits get bodied by Gojo before he gets sealed. Hanami is, dead. Jogo gets obliterated by Sukuna during their fight. And me saying fight is a bit of an overstatement. Yoda, you say you have bad news? Hold up, what's going on? Talk with the family if I can tell you. They said it was okay. Oh no. Oh no. No. I literally just talked to him yesterday. During my Evil West stream, I literally just talked to him. Yoda, I am so sorry. My my condolences to his entire family. Wow. I I don't know what to say. It's 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 something to have that news told to you. Yoda, I am so sorry. Man, what can I say? Seriously, what can I say? I can't. How does one see? It was one thing when you told us what was going on with Lucas yesterday, and Lucas himself said he was stage 3, but for this news, I am so sorry. I I can't possibly imagine what the family is going through, how they feel. I couldn't possibly imagine, but my heart and the heart of this community, they offer their condolences, and we we're here. We're here. I'm here. Once again, my condolences. Um, wow. That is that is quite the news to get when you're just starting a stream. So, I I got to continue on, but I'm very sorry to hear that. I really am. I remember when Lucas first showed up to my stream when I was playing Power Wash Simulator. Cool, chill, you know. It was nice, especially people coming from like different countries and everything. But it truly is sad to hear this type of news. And I don't even know Lucas personally. Lucas came to my channel just I want to say a couple of days ago. I want to say a couple of days ago. Last week was when he first showed up. Man, I am so sorry. But despite despite that, just tell the family to, you know, take their time, do whatever they have to do in order to, deal with this moment. I don't need to tell actually I don't need they don't need me to tell them that. They already know. They already know. They don't need me to tell them that. But for you, Yoda, for you, Chris, um, just take as much time as you need to take in this point of your life and just I mean like I said, what can I possibly say to make it seem the situation in this present moment feel less impactful? I can't say anything. I can't say anything. I'm not an expert on this. Just stay positive and keep your head held high. That's really all I can say. It's really all I can say. I gotta I gotta press on though. I gotta continue. I gotta continue on. Once again, my condolences to Lucas's family and everyone who was close to him. So I'm gonna continue with my Jujutsu Kaisen discussion. With everything that has gone on with the Shibuya incident and so many things happening. No problem, Chris. No problem. With so many things happening and in this event, and us losing people in this event, Gojo getting sealed, things happening to characters that we know and love and enjoy. All this culminating in Mahito versus Yuji, which is exactly what Kenjaku wanted at the end of the day. Uh, Mahito pretty much evolving himself to his highest point while fighting Yuji. Uh, pretty much played into Kenjaku's plans so that he could, turn Mahito into a little orb he could then claim for himself, use Mahito's power, and then use idol transfiguration pretty much on the entire country of Tokyo and pretty much all of and pretty much the entirety of Tokyo. And thus started the Culling Games, where, you guys know, it's numerous cursed sorcerers propped up, a lot of people, the reincarnated cursed sorcerers who made a binding vow with Kenjaku like thousands of years ago. It really shows just how meticulous. It really shows just how meticulous Kenjaku has been with his plans, because he's been using the body of Geto ever since after the events of Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which is when Gojo defeats Geto. And then after that, Geto died, and then Kenjaku got his hands on the body of Geto, and then just started using his body from there. Because, with Geto's ability to, consume cursed spirits and then use them for himself, it was the perfect way for him to, eventually lead towards the events of the Shibuya incident. So everything during the Culling game happens. Sukuna goes off completely. We find out later that Sukuna entered into that binding vow, same binding vow we saw Yuji and Sukuna make during their first skirmish, where Sukuna just easily defeats Yuji. We didn't find out the specific conditions of the binding vow, and it was, 1, you'll forget that this binding vow was even made, and 2, anytime Sukuna, pops off a mouth on the side of Yuji and says "in chain," he then gains control of Yuji's body for, I think it was 1 minute. 1 minute, I want to say. I think it was for 1 minute. Hold on, I'm looking it up now. Because there's a lot of binding vows in the series. So Yuji, Todori, and Sukuna. Let's see. Yeah, this was when Yuji's body just completely died. It's all good, Chris. It's all good. I'll guess you could say I'll be there in spirit. But know that you have the best wishes from this community and this entire channel towards you and Lucas's family. But the binding vow with Yuji and Sukuna, that was all the way back when Yuji's heart was torn out, when Sukuna was in control. And yeah, it's in chain for 1 full minute. It's 1 full minute where Sukuna gets control of his body. Also promised not to kill anyone during that time on the condition that Yuji would forget about the vow. So that's the thing. Sukuna... Okay, so what it says here is when Yuji's body was deceased, Sukuna proposed a binding vow that would allow him to heal in exchange for allowing Sukuna to take control for 1 minute whenever he said a keyword in chain. He also promised not to kill anyone during that time on the condition that Yuji would forget about the vow. So that's currently the binding vow. What happened? You just gotta scroll up Roblox in order to tell what happened. It's literally in the chat. You don't have to ask what happened if it's in the chat. So with Sukuna's binding vow to Yuji, it's really when you think about for Kenjaku and Sukuna. Sukuna already had a plan in mind as soon as he met Megumi. As soon as he met Megumi and found out he was a 10 Shadows user, the plan for him to take over Megumi's body was pretty much already forming. Because with the 10 Shadow user, you also have access to Maharaga. And I believe this plan came into fruition after Sukuna was unable to beat Gojo. And During the whole Shibuya incident and afterwards with the culling game, it culminates in a point where Sukuna takes over Yuji's body. Um, take over Yuji's body. And putting a gamble, because Yuji becoming a vessel for Sukuna, that was a major gamble. There was no way to tell if he was truly going to become the vessel for Sukuna when he consumed that first finger in the very first chapter. But Sukuna took that very same slim chance gamble. And then while he was in control of Yuji's body, he poured all as much cursed energy into his pinky and then ripped it off. And then forced it into Megumi's mouth. Sorry to ask, but who is Lucas? Lucas is actually a person who first showed up to my stream one day when I was playing Power Wash Simulator. He's a viewer. He's another one of you who watches what I do. He showed up along with Alessio and Yoda as well. Like they said they were friends. Yoda said that they were friends and they knew each other. And Lucas would show up from time to time. Of course, we had no idea what was going on with him until yesterday when we found out about it. We found out about what happened to Lucas and that he had stage 3 cancer. We didn't know about it until yesterday. And of course, it's not our business to know, but Yoda told us. And well, we just found out today that, well, But let me continue with the discussion because I need to stay on topic here. Sukuna took that massive gamble because it was a very slim chance for Megumi to become his next vessel. But when it worked, it all worked in Sukuna's favor. And mind you, this is Sukuna who had all but one of his fingers. So he was at 19 fingers worth of power. And he force-fed Megumi his own finger, and in the process, Megumi became the new vessel for Sukuna. And then, of course, Sukuna went down this long path of trying to immerse Megumi's soul deeper and deeper into darkness in order to make Megumi's body more his own. But Ogata, I gotta say, all that time he had that plan to take Megumi's body. Yeah. Anytime you saw Sukuna just massacring people, but saying there's only one person I won't massacre, at that point, Sukuna had already summed up that, I'm going to make him my new vessel. If I can make this Yuji kid my vessel, then I can make that Megumi kid my vessel. And thus, I can get access to all of his cursed techniques while I'm in his body, which is, kind of diabolical when you think about it. All it took was for him seeing Megumi being a 10 Shadows user, and he decided, you know what? That's my new vessel right there. But I'm not strong enough. Do we even know what happened to the 20th finger? No, we don't. Sukuna was surmising and hypothesizing whether or not Gojo had the finger, but due to the events of which I'm going to touch on, it looks like Gojo didn't have the finger, but Sukuna also said, I hypothesize that he may have that finger, but there's a chance that he doesn't. There's a theory of whether or not he had it on him or not, which is why when Kenjaku brought Sukuna to this, secluded place within a barrier, and it had this mummified looking body. Going to go, but have a great day. Will not be online for another week or two. Yoda, take as much time as you need. Do not rush. Take as much time as you need to grieve. As much time. I would say that to any one of you here. But Sukuna, I think, circumnavigated the lack in power of that additional finger by eating that skull that Kenjaku gave him, which I surmise was his original body. Because the way the body looked, it looked eerily similar to how Sukuna's body looked 1,000 years ago. It had this malformed right side of his face. And it had multiple eyes, which look eerily similar to how Sukuna looked in the past. So I think he circumnavigated needing that extra finger by eating another piece of what I think is his mummified remains, which is basically just his original head. And then, of course, Uraume did that whole bloodbath thing that caused Sukuna to gain even more control over Megumi's body and make it even more difficult for Megumi to resist him. Because one thing that Sukuna pretty much wanted to get out of the way is that, when you think about it, Yuji gaining control of his body in the very first encounter with Gojo, and in the very first moment where Sukuna takes over Yuji's body, Yuji getting his body back was something that Sukuna did not like. So, he did not waste any time having Uraume preparing a bath to immerse himself in cursed energy and the blood of cursed spirits in order to make it harder and even by far almost impossible for Megumi to resurface. So, he took what happened in his very first encounter with Gojo and made sure that it was impossible for the person he was possessing to resist against him. When you think about it, he made sure that the same trick did not happen twice. So going from there, he immerses himself in this blood, in this ritual, in order to turn his body more so into a cursed tool, just coursing with cursed energy, even more so than, even more so, I honestly feel when Sukuna took over the body of Megumi and then he immersed himself in like that bloodbath, that gave him a boost. I honestly think that whatever strength that Sukuna had at first got boosted as soon as he had that bloodbath. So going from there, he fights Gojo. Like, he gets powered up. Well, actually, no, he doesn't fight Gojo. He actually fights Yoroza, who is this cursed sorcerer from in the past that was infatuated with Sukuna. Of course, Sukuna being who he is, he did not feel any human feelings towards Yoroza at all. But Yoroza, in the present, imagine if Toji was still alive and learned this, he would have gave Sukuna a run for his money. He really would have, because, people with heavenly restriction are some of the more, Yorozu, not Yoroza, sorry. But him encountering Yorozu, who also happened to be reincarnated in the body of Megumi's sister, just furthered Sukuna's plan in order to immerse Megumi further into darkness. So, Sukuna was not taking any chances of Megumi being able to resurface at all. First, he immersed himself in cursed blood so that he could make it harder for Megumi to resist. And then he went the extra mile using Megumi's body while he was possessing it to fight his sister that was also being possessed by a curse, that was also being possessed by another individual, fought her and then killed her in order to bring Megumi further and further into despair. And now we're dealing with a Sukuna who not only is far stronger than he's ever been before, and I'm saying this as we still, to this day, do not know what this man's innate curse technique is. We know the applications of it, but we don't know what his curse technique actually is. I still stand by the theory that his curse technique is basically just cursed creation. He could basically, or copy. He's able to create anything with cursed energy, not restricted to just one specific thing, or he's able to copy techniques that he sees, which is when he says fuga or open, and he basically copies Jogo's fire-based curse techniques just instantly, right then and there. And then, with even greater intensity and power, because he just insta-kills Jogo right then and there. Jogo doesn't even know he's dead. He doesn't even know he's dead. He's just in the blank void. He's just in a blank void. And then we see that, wow, this whole conversation that Sukuna was having with Jogo was, it was in a moment so quick that Jogo didn't even realize that he was truly dead. Until after the fact. And then we just see Jogo's charred remains just set on fire. So I honestly think that Sukuna's ability to create any type of curse technique or copy any ones he's seen is his innate curse technique. The only caveat to this is that he cannot copy genetic techniques, such as like the six eyes or the limitless, or things that are, clan exclusive techniques. Those are the ones I think he can actually copy. But his plans go even further, because the whole purpose of him gaining access to Megumi's body, and thus all of his techniques, was just so he could have a way to properly fight Gojo. Because Gojo, when he was unsealed, he decided, you know what, it's time to fight Sukuna and Kenjaku right now. So, they get the date all together. They get all prepared. Everyone is coming up with plans on how Gojo's going to beat Sukuna. Everyone is so sure. Is the 10 Shadows technique genetic? Hold on. Let me look it up, because I can pull up the pages very quickly. Scrolling down to curse techniques. Wow, this is a very long list. Can I get to the curse technique? Yes, there we go. A technique passed down in the Zenin family which Megumi inherited, allowing him to summon up to 10 potential Shikigami using his shadows as an intermediary. It also grants the user overall manipulation of shadows, allowing Megumi to hide in shadows or store items within his own shadow. So it is a hereditary, or it is something that you can inherit. It is an inheritable technique. And if I go in here, yeah, it's passed down. Let's see here. When someone inherits the 10 Shadows technique, they receive 2 divine dogs. Other Shikigami can be summoned with an exorcism ritual where the user must defeat the Shikigami in order to make them to submit. So yeah, this is an inherited technique. It's quite expansive when you think about it. And even its domain expansion hasn't been fully explored yet. The complete version of the 10 Shadows Technique's domain expansion Chimera Shadow Garden has yet to be fully explored. Megumi is able to achieve an incomplete version that floods the area with liquid shadows that he can freely manipulate and use to summon Shikigami at will. So just to keep in mind, when Megumi uses his 10 Chimera Shadow Garden, it's not even a complete domain expansion. It's still incomplete. And I honestly feel that is something Sukuna is capable of gaining access to. But in Sukuna's current state, that's not even on the cards right now. That's not on the cards, but I'll get to that. So with the whole 10 Shadows technique, among the Shikigami is one extremely powerful one that apparently no one has been able to make them submit, and that is Maharaga. And it's the most powerful Shikigami available, and no one in the Zenin family has been able to force it to submit. It is literally that powerful. Anyone who has tried, they either been killed by it or worse. Rith, good to see you. And Jays, good to see you as well. We're discussing the story of Jujutsu Kaisen thus far. We're just touching on some story beats to figure out how we got here and what we all collectively think of the story as it's being told right now. So, the thing with Maharaga is the strongest Shikigami. And it also has this cursed tool bound to its arm that allows it to dispel any sort of curse technique. And then it has a sword name. I'm trying to find it. It's called, the Sword of Extermination, a blade attached to its forearm that is enveloped in positive energy, making it especially effective against curse spirits. Now, to go further with this, let's see here. Its positive energy can easily compromise bodies composed entirely of cursed energy. The overall advantage gained by the user is comparable to the power of a special grade cursed tool. So going further with this, Maharaga began its battle with Sukuna by swinging the Sword of Extermination down at the King of Curses. As an incarnated cursed spirit occupying a human vessel, Sukuna's body was not destroyed by the positive energy emitted by the blade. Pardon me. Even so, Maharaga's strength forced Sukuna to dodge before the blade broke through his defense. Sukuna recognized the Sword of Extermination for its unique abilities and admitted that he would have died had he been a normal cursed spirit. After adapting to Sukuna's slashed-based curse techniques, Mahoraga was able to deflect one of his attacks using the blade. Now, the thing about Mahoraga... Hi, this is Lucas's family. I was just here to thank you for all the support. I pray for you and your family. Thank you. No trouble, no problem whatsoever. When Lucas was here, he was only here for like a couple of days when I was having different streams, and it was just nice having people from different countries over. And he was welcome as anyone else is. So, yeah, our hearts are with you. And we wish you the very best during this difficult time. Let me continue. But the thing with Mahoraga is he also has the ability to adapt, which is exactly what Sukuna wanted, because it would allow him to eventually adapt to Gojo's techniques to the point where after he made Mahoraga adapt to the absolute limits, to the absolute pinnacle of penetrating through Gojo's limitless, that's what allowed him to just straight up body Gojo. And, well, for those who know already, we lost Gojo because Sukuna adapted the slash from Mahoraga. Well, he actually he took Mahoraga's adaptation for himself so he could adapt to the cursed energy from Gojo, which would allow his slash to slice straight through Gojo's limitless and then straight through Gojo. Are they on break? Yes, we're not getting a chapter until next week. We've been on a 2-week break for One Piece, My Hero Academia, and Jujutsu Kaisen. What about the boy with sword, Yuji? Do you mean Yuta Okotsu? Yuta Okotsu is a very special case because with Yuta, he essentially has, he has Rika, which allows him to have basically limitless cursed energy, which is kind of scary because if Kenjaku ever got his hands on Rika, he would have basically had unlimited cursed energy. So just to show you just how major Yuta Okotsu is, and I'll get back to talking about Sukuna here in a sec. Yuta's immense cursed energy comes from his genetic relation to Michizane Sugawara. It only first manifested when he transformed a loved one into a cursed spirit. Rika became a vengeful spirit so powerful that Geto, an avid collector of curses, dubbed her the Queen of Curses. So, Rika is just that strong. Rika is just that strong that she's known as the Queen of Curses in a world where Sukuna exists, and he's known as the King of Curses. Rika's boundless cursed energy could be shaped into any technique, allowing Yuta to use advanced curse techniques within a year of learning the fundamentals of Jujutsu. Yuta retains the massive amounts of cursed energy that were unrivaled from Rika's curse even after her spirit passed on. His cursed energy capacity exceeds even that of Gojo. Let me say that again. Yuta Okotsu's reserves of cursed energy is bigger than Gojo's. Is Rika like related to Mahoraga? They both ugly alike? No, they're not. They're not related. Let me go back up here again. Quick question. Do you feel like there's any point in making Gojo come back? Like, I highly doubt he'd be able to do anything major to this Sukuna. I honestly feel that bringing Gojo back would be what you would call beating a dead horse. We had this fantastic fight between Gojo, where we saw Gojo push to his absolute limits. A lot of people are thinking like, oh, Gojo's dead, but he's going to come back. How? I honestly feel like we don't need to bring Gojo back. Is Gojo great as a character? Yes, he is. But Gojo's dead now. You don't need to bring him back. Because all of that buildup of what Sukuna was doing, only for it to be all like, nah, you missed me, and Gojo's back again, I feel like it would be taking it a step too far. Still need to watch movie Zero. It's good. It's good. I think Gojo will be reincarnated in another vessel. If he was a vengeful spirit, it's possible. But Gojo, it's cursed. It's vengeful spirits and negative emotions is what creates cursed spirits. I don't think Gojo's the type of individual that would die vengeful. He literally died with a smile on his face. So I highly doubt that Gojo would come back and be reincarnated that way. There was no binding vow created for him to come back at a later time or whatever. And he wasn't vengeful when he died. He wasn't screaming and yelling at Sukuna with anger and hate in his heart, which would then prompt like a transition over to a cursed spirit, as is the case of Naoya Zenin, when he was so mad and upset that he got killed by Maki that he came back as a cursed spirit and still got bodied by Maki, which is funny when you think about it. Man got so mad that a peasant... Well, actually, no, it wasn't Maki who killed him. It was Maki's mother. Just a regular person killed Naoya, and he died vengeful and spiteful that he turned into a cursed spirit later on. Then he got killed by Maki, who had reached the point of heavenly restriction, literally becoming the next Toji Zenin. Toji Fushiguro. He may learn how to bypass it just like he learns the Limitless when he nearly died by Toji. I don't know. I honestly feel like Gojo doesn't need to come back. That's how I feel. Because Gojo and his strength, he's incredibly strong. He was literally the most powerful individual in the entire story of Jujutsu. But with him gone, that place has been taken up by Sukuna. And, the next person in line that can, turn the tide is people like either Yuji or Yuto Okotsu. Gojo is a genius mentally. Yeah, he is. But honestly, with the personality that Gojo has, I don't think he would want to come back. Kitty, good to see you. We're talking about Jujutsu Kaisen right now. We're just talking about everything. We're just talking about everything that's happened. But the way things are right now, with Gojo gone, everyone has to rethink their strategy because they really counted on Gojo being the one to defeat Sukuna. However, when Sukuna beat Gojo and proceeded to give him the Yamamoto treatment from Bleach, then everyone had to rethink their strategy. Okay, we just lost the strongest trump card we could ever have, and now we got to formulate something else. So now we're at a state where, okay, Gojo had his chance, and then we had Hajime Kamo, Hajime jump in and try and fight Sukuna. Had like a moment where we got to see Hajime's curse technique, being able to use electricity to basically change his entire body around, but overuse permanently changed his face that way. And, working kind of hard. But, Sukuna, who just beat Gojo, was pretty much in a state where, if you are not on Gojo's level, it's going to be tricky for you to do stuff to Sukuna. Now, mind you, you got to be smart in order to, trip him up, which is entirely possible. But honestly, it feels like as soon as Gojo died, everyone else really had a hard time thinking about, okay, how are we going to beat this man? Like I said, unlike My Hero Academia, where it feels like every time the villains do something, the heroes do something, the villains do something greater. And when the villains do something, the heroes do something greater. And that's been the give and take for the entirety of My Hero Academia from day one. And it's just been something I've noticed over the many years I've been reading that series. From the very first day I was reading Volume 1, all the way up into the chapters of where it is right now. That's always been that give and take, that quid pro quo of a story beat, if you will. But for Jujutsu, there are moments where things can, in fact, look really good. But those moments do not happen as often as we see destruction, mayhem, a ton of death. The good moments are far lesser than the bad moments in Jujutsu. It's like I said at the beginning. The story of Jujutsu is a situation where, sure, you have all these things happening, but things that are bad can, in fact, get worse. So now we're in a state where Sukuna has been pushed to the highest degree, has been pushed to the point where he assumes his form from 1,000 years ago. And like I said, I call it his perfect Sukuna form, his perfect Ryomen Sukuna form. He's got all his arms back. He's got all his fingers. He's not missing one. And that's something I've noticed. You would think he'd be missing some fingers, but he's not. Missing a finger, but I don't think he is. And he's in a state of perfection, as you will. If I go back to the chapter, Hajime was looking at Sukuna and noticed that everything coming off of Sukuna, just his mere presence, was just the epitome of perfection. Everything he did was in the most perfect way, from his breathing, everything. So now we're dealing with that version of Sukuna who is not bothered by anything. And it's just like, how are you going to beat this individual? Because we don't see Hajime after Sukuna launched that Resident Evil laser hallway grid, laser grid at Hajime. We don't even see what happens to him. But I highly doubt that Hajime is still alive, because we don't see him anymore after that chapter. And these slashes from Sukuna, I mean, he's capable of making it so they can slice through time and space. And he did that in order for him to kill Gojo. So Hajime, I honestly feel, is no longer alive. He's just straight up obliterated. So now we're dealing with everyone formulating a plan on using Higuruma, who I had to sit down and look up and just read through his capabilities, read through his story, as he's by far one of the smartest individuals in Jujutsu thus far. With, control, everything about, he's a genius. He's a lawyer, and he even has the makings of becoming a judge. Like, even people were telling him, like his mentor told him, like, you have the makings of becoming a judge right now, because that's how good of a job, that's how good Higuruma is at what he does. So after going through the whole judgment trial that Yuji had to go through, because he had to suffer it because, Sukuna used his body to massacre hundreds upon possibly thousands of people in Shibuya, literally erasing a whole massive chunk of Shibuya off the map with his full-on dismantle and his malevolent shrine. Now we're in a situation where Higuruma everyone thought, well, since Sukuna is no longer bound to Yuji, if we get him in a domain expansion in Higuruma's domain expansion, maybe there's a way we can put Sukuna on trial. And thus, if we get him the death sentence, not only would his curse techniques be confiscated, then we can also kill him, and in the process use the Executioner's Sword to separate Sukuna from Megumi. That was the plan. However, because confiscation will take into account cursed tools that an individual has on them at the point of verdict, Sukuna only had the Kamutoke taken from him, which is the supreme martial solution, if you go by the English. And Sukuna still has all of his techniques. He just has that one particular curse tool taken away from him, which is essentially a curse tool that allows him to manipulate lightning to a mind-numbingly strong degree. Matter of fact, if I go over to the Kamutoke, yeah. If I go over to its usage, Sukuna wielded Kamutoke and Hiten to annihilate the Northern Fujiwara clan Sun, Moon, and Star Squad and the 5 empty generals, as well as the Deshi Pacification Squad made up of the Abe clan's elite, including the Angel and the Sugawara clan's remnants. So with Both of those curse tools that he had, he wiped out entire clans and entire squads on his own. So basically, it holds the ability to summon torrents of electricity that strike the target from above. Basically, able to summon lightning strikes wherever he wanted. But due to Higuruma's deadly sentencing, that's now gone. But Sukuna still has access to his curse techniques. Every time it seems like the heroes are winning, something's definitely off. It really is. Kitty, I gotta go back to what you said. Never really liked Gojo's personality. He was entirely carefree. The moment he gained that super carefree attitude that he would later carry on for the rest of his life was the moment Toji Fushiguro almost killed him. And at that moment, Gojo realized the epitome of Jujutsu. Use reverse curse technique for the first time. Gain an understanding of cursed energy. And when he fought Toji, he was in that state of euphoria and carefreeness and carelessness. But with his power at the time, he was capable of being careless because his power was just that absolute. So, he's one of those individuals. Now, he's not unlike Jin. The only difference is that Jin has the ability to be slightly cocky, but not to the point of distractive arrogance or dismissive arrogance. He knows that he's stronger than everyone. That's not arrogance, he just knows. But he also has the strength to back it up, and he's not so carefree with his power where he'll just think like, I'm going to beat you and that'll be that. Especially if he knows it's another strong opponent or another capable opponent. He does not behave in a way, Jin does not behave in a way where he doesn't overestimate or he doesn't underestimate his own opponent. Gojo doesn't do the same thing, but he's still mind-numbingly cocky for the power that he has. Jinwoo uses his brain, but he never once had the I will never lose vibe. Did I like the way Gojo died? I'm going to be honest. Seeing Gojo getting killed the exact same way that Yamamoto did in Bleach, that's the first thing that attracted me. Because I'm like, okay, so just like Yua surprised the strongest person he was fighting, the strongest person in the Soul Society that he was fighting, and proceeded to use his own power against him. Now, Sukuna didn't do the same thing to Gojo, but he adapted to Gojo's curse technique so he could not only slice through Limitless, but also through Gojo in that instant. But to be quite honest with you, I'm not going to say I liked the way Gojo died. I'm just going to say I did not see him going out specifically that way. I honestly thought that Gojo would use Hollow Purple on Sukuna and then body him and then free Megumi. But of course, that's just wishful thinking in a series where many people die and situations get from bad to worse. That was just the optimism in me, just hoping that that would be the case. But seeing Gojo get killed by Sukuna, it just filled me with this thought of, okay, we just lost one of the most powerful characters in the entire series. Now what do we do? So I'm not going to say I like the way Gojo died, because, I mean, it's whatever to me, but it really did set in my mind, okay, so you just lost one of the strongest techniques in the world. We just lost the Six Eyes, we just lost the Limitless, we just lost an individual who was known to be the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer in the world, with no one being able to stand up against him. We just lost him. So now what do we do? That's the situation I found myself thinking of, more so than thinking of how Gojo died. It was more so thinking, okay, we just lost Gojo. How do you beat Sukuna now? Because if Sukuna can kill Gojo, he can kill anybody else. Because there's Gojo and Sukuna, and then there's everybody in Jujutsu below them. When Sukuna killed Gojo, everybody underneath Sukuna is pretty much on the chopping block. And didn't he switch places with Megumi at some point during the battle so Megumi could take most of the damage of the Infinite Void? No, he did not. Because it goes back to what I was talking about when he was immersing Megumi's soul deeper and deeper into despair and darkness. The less, because that would have made, because if he allowed Megumi to surface, it would have opened up the possibility that Megumi could resurface again against Sukuna's will, which is something that Sukuna pretty much prepared for by, bathing in cursed blood and then killing Megumi's sister. All for the purpose for Megumi to not rise up again. See, a lot of us thought that maybe he was going to allow Megumi to resurface while he was fighting Yuji to make Yuji second-guess himself into harming a person he calls his friend. And some of us thought that maybe if he allows Megumi to resurface while he's fighting Gojo, Gojo would once again be surprised by sentimentality and then caught off guard. The first time we saw that was when he got caught in the prison realm by Geto because, Gojo was good friends with Geto when he was alive. That's how we wound up in the whole Shibuya incident in the first place, because Gojo got distracted by sentimentality. But that's not what happened. You read something somewhere about Yuji and Sukuna? See, the thing that I'm curious about is, what is Yuji? Because we're in a state right now, had that been approached, I don't want to say in case of spoilers, I don't know anything about Yuji and Sukuna. If it's got anything with any approaching manga chapters, I don't know, because the latest chapter we have for, if you don't know, I'm not saying, I don't know anything. So if it's from okay, what is the next chapter for Jujutsu about to be? The next chapter is going to be chapter 248. If it's anything from the newest chapter, because you guys know I'd never read scans or anything of that nature, because I like to read it the day they officially come out, not when they get early translated by people on the internet. I prefer to read it officially when they first drop. So I don't know what you may be referring to, so I'm not going to press that. But I will say that I'm very curious about what Yuji actually is, because the thing with Yuji is that even with Sukuna no longer within his body, Yuji is displaying properties and capabilities that no normal human should be able to do. Being able to jump up entire skyscrapers, throwing giant slabs of concrete and entire cars. Strength and capabilities that no normal human being should be capable of doing. And then, no, not going to say. Okay. Then we find out that Kenjaku, who before Yuji was born, was with Yuji's father, but he had taken over the body of the woman that would be with Yuji's father. And in the process, he gave birth to Yuji, using, in possession of that woman's body, for reasons that are still unknown. And it is by far one of the weirdest things of this entire series, with so many weird curse techniques and everything. We still don't know why Kenjaku did that. It's weird. It's weird why he would take over the body of a woman and then give birth to Yuji. For what purpose? Kenjaku does not seem like the type of individual that just does things on a whim. Even though he keeps saying that the reason he wants to combine Tengen with the cursed spirits of everyone who's died during the Culling Games just to see what happens, we all know better. There's a reason for every villain's end goal. There's always a reason. No villain just says, I just want to simply destroy everything. I just want to do this. I just want to do that just because. There isn't a single villain that does things without provocation or without reason. Aizen wanted to become Aizen wanted to become the next Soul King, so he went through everything just so that he could, mold Ichigo into this final opponent he can face. And if he defeated Ichigo, then he'd be ready to become the next Soul King and then go up against Squad Zero and all that. But Aizen failed. Then we got Madara Uchiha, who wanted to achieve the infinite Tsukuyomi, only to find out that it was part of a plan from Black Zetsu and Kaguya Otsutsuki. And his whole reason was to create a whole place where it was devoid of war. Pretty much the same thing that Pain wanted to do, but Madara wanted to do to a far greater degree. Pretty much enslave the entire planet in an infinite Tsukuyomi. But that was part of Kaguya's plan to create an army that would help her fight the other Otsutsuki clan members from outer space. It's crazy to think that what once started as a ninja story turned into like a planet, an interstellar story. Finding out that Kaguya Otsutsuki was actually an alien, and then she was running from her other alien family members, and she came to Earth in order to create an army to fight her other family members from space. I'm like, okay, so where are we going with this? But every villain has a reason for what they do. Kenjaku is no different, but he's still not saying. So we got all this going on in the story. And now we're at a point where the big plan is to use the Executioner's Sword to separate Megumi from Sukuna. Do you think Kenjaku, Tengen, and Sukuna was like Gojo, Geto, and Shoko? No. No, I would not say that. Because out of these individuals, two of these individuals have incredibly malevolent tendencies. Kenjaku spent so many years of his life learning about things of Jujutsu and the world of Jujutsu, experimenting on women, creating these crazy creations with the painting death wombs, and doing all of these atrocities, calling him the most evil man in Jujutsu history. And then Sukuna, who's basically an individual who became so cursed that, mind you, he was a human first. He was a human first. And then he just became so strong and so powerful that he can no longer be regarded as human. And he just exists for himself. Doesn't matter who it is. He has no trouble eating humans. He's just that evil of a character. He's not redeemable. He's not the type of individual. But Sukuna was good, no? That's why he's called the Fallen. I doubt Sukuna was actually a good person. I doubt it. I doubt it. Because according to legend, Sukuna was an imaginary demon, a Kaso no Kiji, during the Heian era, but in truth he was a sorcerer also known as the Disgraced One. Jujutsu sorcerers of the Golden Age of Jujutsu gave their all against him, but ultimately fell one after another. Sukuna existed throughout the ages by transforming into a cursed object after death, a state where he split his power into 20 indestructible fingers. I don't think Sukuna was ever good. Because fallen would mean he fell from grace. Well, sure, that could be interpreted that way. Disgraced one, fallen one, it could be interpreted that way. So who knows, maybe we'll see Sukuna before he became what he is. I don't know if Gege is going to go down that road for the story, but we can just leave that in the air. We can leave that in the air for a little bit. But to answer your question earlier, Jace, Kenjaku, Tengen, and Sukuna were like Gojo, Geto, and Shoko? No, because Gojo, Geto, and Shoko were far more human in how they behaved than Kenjaku, Tengen, and Sukuna. Tengen is literally actually, what is Tengen? Hold on. An immortal Jujutsu sorcerer that remains within their chamber, the tombs of the Star Corridor, at all times in order to reinforce the barriers that protect both Jujutsu high locations. At one time, they were responsible for preaching the foundation of Jujutsu sorcerers and ended up spawning religious groups that worship the star as their deity. So Once human, now cursed spirit, due to no longer having an actual, physical body now. As stated by Tengen, due to Toji Fushiguro killing the previous star plasma vessel 11 years ago and preventing Tengen from merging with her, Tengen's current appearance is a result of them having continued to evolve past their humanity. So technically not regarded as human anymore. Tengen originally possessed a much more human appearance. I thought he got the fallen title when he became the king of curses. Maybe, but we don't know the full history of Sukuna. Oh yeah, Shoko is here. What is she even doing? Isn't she a master of reverse curse technique or something? She's really good at it. She's really good. She's the only person who can actually, hold on. Let's look up Shoko, because I rarely look up other individuals other than the ones that we're all used to. So if I go down to her capabilities, Shoko is an expert user of reverse curse technique, and her role as the doctor requires her to use it often to heal injured comrades. Not many people can utilize positive energy, and even fewer can use it on people other than themselves. This is what makes Shoko's abilities in her role so valuable to Jujutsu Ai. So it's because she's capable of using reverse curse technique on other individuals rather than herself, which is something that not a lot of people can do. It's incredibly difficult to achieve. She can convert it into output and apply it to others in order to regenerate lost limbs and heal wounds, something even Satoru Gojo cannot do. So, her ability to use reverse curse technique to such a degree is something that, Gojo can't even do it. He can use reverse curse technique, but he can't even do it to other people. However, when asked how it works, Shoko is unable to put it into proper words that could effectively teach someone else how to use it. So she knows how to use it. It's instinctual for her, but she can not teach it. It's like Naruto trying to teach Konohamaru how to do the Rasengan. And I wonder what people like Miwa are doing because she can't swing a blade no more. Yeah. After she lost so many times and her blade was completely destroyed, she put a binding vow on herself to never pick up a sword again. Do you realize how traumatized you have to be to put a binding vow on yourself to never pick up a sword? Yeah, it's the binding vow here. Kasumi Miwa made a binding vow during her attack on Geto to enhance her Bato sword drawing by vowing to never swing a katana again. However, the sword was blocked and crushed by Geto with his hand. And this was during the time when everyone was trying to fight him. Right then and there. When she broke her sword against Geto on the rooftop during the moment where Geto took over Mahito, that's when she did the binding vow. But, her sword was broken. And now she can never pick up a sword again because binding vows are absolute. And if you try to break them, they have severe consequences. Because if I go over to binding vow. Also, yes, Kitty, Nanami passing was a sad moment as well. Especially with him walking on the beach, and you just knew that things were bad. Don't want to call her dead weight, but I'm curious to see what she does next. I mean, she can no longer pick up a sword, but who's to say that she can't do something else? Of course, we'll have to see if that ever comes to pass or that ever does anything. We'll just have to see. But yeah, Nanami's passing was a very sad moment, him walking across the beach and then seeing his entirely charred body. And the worst thing is, before Nanami passed, he was already super charred by Jogo and his fire abilities. Like half of his body was burned down to the muscle. Half his face was burnt off. He had an eye missing. He literally had half of his body just burnt down. Why do I don't like, first, yo, what's going on, Dev? Why do I don't like shonen anime anymore except for JoJo and the Fist of the North Star? I watched Naruto, I liked it, but shonen anime is not my cup of tea. Yeah, it's the way anime has been done nowadays. I feel like there are far more anime in the world than there has ever been before. And that there's so much of it that it's actually difficult to find one to actually sit down and enjoy before you get started on another one. There's just so much anime. There's literally enough anime to last a singular person a lifetime. If you were to look at every episode of every anime ever made, you probably would more than likely never watch everything before you passed on. There's just so much anime. And even when you think you've caught up to, say you watch about 7 anime within the span of several months. During that time, 17 more anime would have popped up. There's just so much. I dare say there's even, I want to say, a bit too much. There's just so much anime to be immersed in that it's kind of tricky to find one to get started on. And then once you're done with that, you got such a large choice that I can understand it being difficult to find where to start and where to stop. There's just so much of it. There's anime for literally everything. We literally have an anime where a dude gets reincarnated as a vending machine. There's an anime for everything. To the point of ridiculousness. We got one where a person puts all their points into the defense. Pretty good. We got another where you're seeing the view of the villains. There's so many villain-based animes. Like, I only date the villainess or whatever. I've never seen that one. There's so many isekai. I feel like there are way too many isekai animes. There's just way too many. You got one where a dude's a cook and people from different worlds come to eat his cooking. We got another one where a dude's reincarnated as a slime. That's actually good. Overlord is a good isekai. But then we got others where it's like, I'm a handyman and I fix stuff in the dungeon. Or another one where it's like, I'm super smart and I'm going to rebuild this entire kingdom. I don't know if that one is a isekai or not. There's just so much anime out there and a lot of them, like Kitty says, there's some really good ones out there, but there are some that are just complete garbage. And those are the ones that tend to stand out the most because it's like, what's going on? Why is this so bad? There is so much shonen anime out there right now that it can seem overwhelming. Unnecessarily so. Pokemon anime and One Piece anime are both over 1,000 episodes. Imagine how much anime will come out by the time you finish watching either of them. That's the... good lord. I am 31. I'm 31. The One Piece anime has been around since 1997. So I'm technically older. I'm pretty much older than One Piece. I am older than One Piece. It's going to be forever. Who knows how long it's going to be before we get to the end of One Piece. We don't know. We don't know it for the manga, and we sure don't know it for the anime because the anime covers a little bit of the manga at a time. But then you got to wait for them to, create these episodes one after the other. Sometimes episodes will go on break, and that can be either weeks, or if they want to take a massive break, it could be a month or so. There's so many things to take in consideration of how much time can be dedicated to the manga and anime that we watch. There's just so much to take in. That's the thing. There's just so much to take in. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Dev. I don't know what to tell you. It's just like there's so much anime out there right now that I can understand why there's nothing to get interested in because there's so much. There's so much. I gotta drink me some tea. I think me doing that voices stream and then having a laughing fit with my dad the other day, Might have tickled my throat a little bit, but I'll get some tea. But going back to the story, where we're at with Jujutsu right now is we're focusing on Sukuna. We have no idea what Kenjaku is doing. We have no idea what Kenjaku is doing while we're focusing on Sukuna. And then we have Yuji coming up on the back of Sukuna with the Executioner's Sword as Higuruma is getting eviscerated by him. So who knows what the next chapter is going to go and what we're going to end up with. I'm not going to go into like what the next chapter Jujutsu is going to hold because I don't read those early. For those who are new here on the channel, I don't read early scans or anything. I wait until they drop on Sunday. But I have to say, for Jujutsu, I can easily explain why I love One Piece so much. The characters, the world building, I love the mystery of it all. And as Oda explains everything to us for One Piece, I love how he explains things. And then he gets callbacks to different things that have happened in the previous series, in the previous chapters, or even years ago when old chapters were up and we had no idea what's going on. And then Oda explains it. I love how he pieces things together. And I love the world building of One Piece. For my hero, I love the character development. Not just on the hero side, but also on the villain side. And even some side characters who tend to show up just as side characters get their own moments to shine throughout My Hero. Everyone gets a moment to be fleshed out as a character. That's the big takeaway for My Hero. You get to resonate with so many characters because the series, both the manga and anime, allows you to spend time with these characters so that you can, get immersed in their story, get engrossed by how they progress, how they grow as characters. Seeing Bakugo as he started out, big, loud, boisterous dude who was just like a complete and utter tool to Midoriya, and now see him now where he addresses Midoriya by his name, not calling him Deku, but calling him by his actual name. Him being apologetic for how he's treated him all these years. Him progressing and becoming a far better man than he's ever been. That alone just shows you that Horikoshi knows how to write character development at a good pace that doesn't feel rushed, and the end result is earned. Jujutsu is really a series where I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on. There are things happening. Some things I enjoy, but some things make me think, how are you going to resolve this? When I read Jujutsu, I get the feeling of there's a sense of open-endedness whenever I get to the end of a chapter, because it's literally a series where anything can happen. I'm not going to call it the Game of Thrones, at least the early seasons of Game of Thrones, the good seasons of the series. I'm not going to call it a Game of Thrones type series, because I once gave that title to Attack on Titan. Don't get attached to anyone. Anyone could die at any moment. But Jujutsu kind of functions on the same way. Where you could get attached to people, but they could die at any moment. Like, we all love Nobara, but then she ran into Mahito, and now her condition is unknown. She's not just flat out called deceased, but because what's her face's brother saying he was going to use reverse curse technique on her, but don't count on it. Don't count on anything being good from the end result. So we don't know Nobara. Nanami's gone. We've lost a bunch of people in Jujutsu, people that we've grown to get used to. And when things happen, such as Sukuna gaining his perfect form, or Sukuna just casually manhandling every single person around him because Gojo's dead, it's like, how do you think the story's going to go? How do you anticipate what's going to happen to the next chapter? There's such an open-endedness to Jujutsu that I can't say I can make theories on, but it just feels like it's simply really tricky to do so. Butter curried chicken thighs or spicy sausage over yellow rice and bean soup? Spicy sausage over yellow rice and bean soup. That sounds amazing. Spicy sausage over yellow rice and bean soup? That just sounds amazing. I mean, the first option sounds good too, but that spicy sausage over rice and bean soup, my goodness. It's making me hungry right now. I need to figure out what I'm about to eat. I need to get me like a big meal. I'm very hungry. But how I feel about Jujutsu right now is that I can't invest theories into just how open-ended chapters end. I can't say, all I can really say is like, oh, well, let's hope things work out. I don't have any evidence to go off of. Or the chapters themselves don't leave me with evidence on me having a good feeling towards any theories that I can create. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's just that's the current state of how these chapters make me feel right now, especially during the, Shinjuku Showdown, which is still going on. It just makes me feel like whatever theory I could have on how things are going to go, I should not hold on to them. Because a lot of people can reach theories of like, oh, we know this evidence, we know that evidence from previous chapters, so this is how this is going to turn out. But we have literally no way of telling if actions, people like Yuji, because I'm not going to say heroes, because I wouldn't say there's really any heroes in Jujutsu. The moral ground for people in Jujutsu is very, very blurred. Because none of the Jujutsu sorcerers see themselves as heroes protecting people from cursed spirits. They just see it as their job. That's it. They don't see it like, I'm going to become a hero. This isn't like Fire Force where Shinra says like, I'm going to become the world's greatest hero and save people. It's not like that. It's really just people just doing their jobs as Jujutsu sorcerers. So whenever I see Yuji and company doing something good, sure, it's nice to feel jubilation in that moment where I think things are going to go well for them. But then I also remember that at a moment's notice, the people that they're facing could get a leg up on them so dangerously fast that we could lose a person in the very next chapter. Like with the Gojo versus Sukuna, I always had a feeling Sukuna would win, but I wasn't sure what was going to happen in between. Sure, in my reactions, I got real happy when Gojo showed up, and I was kind of like, oh, it's about to get real now. Oh, we're having this happen. Oh, we're having that happen. But at the same time, I had to gauge my expectations because there's no telling. The reason why I have this mindset is that when you don't see the absolute limits of the person you're fighting, there's always that air of you should not be so guaranteed that the quote-unquote hero is going to win this fight. When you have not seen the absolute epitome of what someone like Sukuna could do, you should not be reserved to thinking that the heroes are going to defeat him. Because we are still with a Sukuna who has not fully revealed what his curse technique actually is. So the Sukuna that we're seeing, we don't even understand the fullest scope of his power. So even if things are looking good, there is no way to know if it's going to succeed against him because we've never seen this man push to the brink of where he's pulling out all the stops. He's been backed into corners, yes, but he's adapted, even without Maharaga's wheel, very quickly. So now we're in a state where like, oh, this looks good, it could work, but emphasis on could. Where Yuji is, he's literally right behind Sukuna, preparing to stab him in the back with the Executioner's sword, but there's no telling if Sukuna is just going to blitz him, because we've seen in previous chapters that this man, he doesn't even leave behind an after image, or like an area where he's no longer standing where he is. He just disappears, and he's right in front of you. So there's no telling on what's going to happen when we continue the next chapter. There's always that uncertainty behind it all. And as the fight went on, while I was sure Sukuna was going to win, but during the fight, there were moments where I was like, wait, I thought Sukuna would win this, but I think Gojo might actually have this. There's such a back and forth on like, okay, this person's doing a lot of damage. Okay, that person's doing a lot of damage. Okay, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And at the end of the chapter, you are still left feeling like you don't know who's going to win this. Because as powerful as Gojo is, part of me was saying like, oh, Gojo's strong. But part of me was still saying, I don't know, be careful, maybe reserve some expectations on the off chance that Gojo loses. Because that's how it feels with every single chapter, especially when it's a major fight. It always feels like, sure, you could be rooting for one person, but don't rule the other person out. Once there was that chapter where it seems like Gojo defeated Sukuna, I felt unsettled, like something was not right. Yes, that's how these chapters make you feel. These chapters make you feel like something is not right if things are going well. That's what I can say about this series. One Piece, love the world building and, the lore dumps and everything that we learned in One Piece. My Hero, I love the character development and how characters grow over time. And Jujutsu, you are always left with a feeling like something is not right if something is going well. So the open ending and uncertainty is something you really enjoy. And I understand that because when chapters are left open-ended, you don't know what's going to happen next. In One Piece, when chapters end, you can have some sort of feeling based on the events leading up to it. My Hero, you can have some sort of feeling based on the events leading up to it. But with Jujutsu, literally, it could end any way. A chapter can end any way, and you're like, what's going to happen? You could literally think of thousands upon thousands of ideas, and you would not be able to solidify yourself onto one because that's just how open-ended these chapters tend to be. So what do I think of the story thus far? I think the story is good, but for people who are always feeling... But for people who feel like I honestly feel like overall what I think of the story, I think the story is fine. But it's always leaving me with this feeling of uncertainty. I literally have to know what happens next. That's how much the story has me. That's how much of a grip it has. I need to know what happens next because this uncertainty is a stronger feeling than any other series that I read on this channel. Like even more uncertainty I feel more uncertainty than what I feel towards One Piece and My Hero and everything's going on with them, Dragon Ball Super, One Punch Man. Any other series that I read, there's always this uncertainty that Jujutsu always has looming. And frankly, I don't know how much more of Jujutsu's story is going to continue on because once Sukuna is dealt with, if he's even dealt with, you see how uncertain it is? I could say like once he's dealt with or if he's dealt with at all. That's just how uncertain because you don't even know if anyone has a capability of even beating him after Gojo's dead. You don't know. We have absolutely no idea. So my question is, where do you go if Sukuna is out of the picture? Do you just go after Kenjaku and then does the story end there? There's so many things to consider. But it's always the uncertainty of how chapters end that keeps me on the edge of my seat wondering how things are going to go. But those are my takes. What do you guys think of Jujutsu? If you've been following Jutsu from the very beginning all the way up to where it is now, what do you think? We don't even know if Kenjaku's truly dealt with the whole someone will carry on his will thing. Oh, right. You know what I just forgot? I just forgot that Yuta Okotsu cut off Kenjaku's head. I just remembered that. Wow! I completely forgot that Kenjaku's just been beheaded. I completely forgot about that. Halster, thank you. So much for me thinking about Kenjaku, because he did say... someone will carry on his will. There's still things I need to do. Someone will carry on this will of mine. I completely forgot that Kenjaku was beheaded by Yuta before Kenjaku could do even anything. Like, Yuta just straight up blitzed the man and cut his head off before he could do anything to Takaba. So, we don't know what's going to happen. What stops from somehow obtaining a new body? He's still a mystery. See, the thing is, he transplants his brain into a new body, but we don't know how that process goes. We don't know how that process works. We know that he's been using that curse technique to allow his brain to be transferred over and over to other bodies. Yep, you're saying it at the same time I am. So we don't know how that works. We don't know if it works like a thing and it sprouts legs and it takes off to go find a new body. We don't know how it works. So we can't rule Kenjaku out just yet until we get like a full-on on-page confirmation. But even with Kenjaku gone, we still got Sukuna. And once we're done with Sukuna, how do you go on from this? How do you go on in a world without Satoru Gojo? How do you go on with the culling game? Because Kenjaku said that he intends to end the culling game by pretty much killing off every single person who's still there in order to enact his plan with Tengen and whatnot. We still don't know to what full extent Kenjaku's plan is. We don't even know what his true plan is. He says he wants to combine Tengen with the cursed spirits of people from the culling game, but we don't know what that means for the world at large. Having fun reading it weekly. It feels like we're in the final stretch. Supreme Dude, we are not talking about anything that's happening in the newest chapter. None whatsoever. The chapter is not fully released yet, so we're not talking about that. Only when the chapters have been released will I bring it up. But we're not talking about anything that's happening in the newest chapter. We're only talking up to chapter 247. New chapter hasn't come out yet on Sunday. I'll be talking then. But this is just a discussion about the story thus far. That's nice, but don't discuss the leaks here. Having fun reading it weekly. Feels like we're in the final stretch of the story, possibly. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Matter of fact, actually, let me go to the end of the last chapter. Yeah, it's just Yuta preparing his sword for Sukuna. But we have no idea of knowing where the story's going to go. Will Gojo return? That's the real question. We have no idea. We have no idea. I don't know. I probably should have put in the description no spoilers from 248. I probably should have put that up there. I'll keep that. I'll remember that for next time so that that doesn't happen again. But I'll probably forget about it. I'll probably forget about it and then still be surprised on Sunday, all the same. No, Yuji is a main character and all, but is it bad to say you have no faith in him landing this with the executioner's sword? No. You're not bad. Because like I said before, it's just the uncertainty. While it seems like things are about to happen, there's absolutely no way to think that what's going to happen in the next chapter is guaranteed. That's the thing. Looks like you're going to have to do chicken tonight. Butcher didn't have any good sausages you could buy. Well, it's all good. That chicken you were talking about earlier sounds good. That butter curry chicken thighs. Yeah, that sounds good. That's fine. Hmm. Let me see. Let me see here. I'm pretty sure. Let me go back to chapter 243. Okay, that's when Kenjaku's head gets cut off. Okay, 244. Yuji and Higuruma. And I'm looking where everyone is. I don't like the whole chapter. Okay, so we got Uroume versus Kenji Akari. Him just bodying Uroume over and over again because his jackpot keeps going. And it's just them fighting. Then we go to the sentencing of Sukuna. Let me see. I shall send pick if you can grab a pick before 8 mouths get a hold of it. Yeah, I wonder what's next for Takaba. Yeah, last we saw Takaba, he was laying on the ground before Kenjaku was getting prepared to, kill him. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with Takaba? Especially with his extremely strong curse technique that was affecting even Kenjaku. But that should be interesting. And I believe Mei actually contributed something this time. Yeah, she did. With her vision, she's able to, keep an eye on everybody. Provide that necessary necessary surveillance. Of course, she's also probably still selling this on pay-per-view for everybody to view because it makes her money. That just sounds like something Mei would do. But where we stand with the story as a whole is we have absolutely no idea where the story is about to go. And I find that good, because the uncertainty is what makes reading this series the most fun. But I also feel like this story doesn't have much more to go. Because there's only so much jujutsu this story may have left in it. I honestly feel like this may be the last year for jujutsu. If it continues on the course of, we're done with Sukuna. We're done with Kenjaku and his will. We prevented Tengen from merging with all the individuals' cursed spirits from the Culling game. I guess that's it. So I honestly feel like with the stakes of where they are right now, you can't go any higher than these two individuals. So it should be interesting to see where things go from here. But that's how I feel about the story thus far. We still got the next chapter that's going to be dropping next week, and I am looking forward to that. But if you guys don't have anything else, Gege did say it was ending this year, but we'll have to wait and see. Yes. But if you guys don't have anything else, comments-wise, for the story as a whole, I think this is a good place for us to stop. So if you guys got any comments towards the story, where it is right now, up to chapter 247, then feel free to voice them now, and then I'll call it a session. The floor is yours. Because I'm curious to see what will happen with the merger, since it has been not necessarily foreshadowed. What would I call it? What would I call what becomes of the merger? what you're trying to say is I feel like we'll be seeing that merger at some point. We still have to see. We still have to see where the next chapter ends on Sunday. We got to find out when. We got to find out. We have to learn. So I feel like the merger happening will be the final stake raised for this story. I mean, that could be the case, because it's been teased this whole time. It's been teased as the big thing that Kenjaku has been aiming for. The whole reason why he aimed for Tengen in the first place when he was facing off against Choso and Yuki Tsukumo. So it would be something if we never got it. But at this point, I would like to see where the story goes if the merger actually happens. Teased, that's the word you was looking for. Yeah, teased. Yeah, we were teased. Drew, you need to finish season 2? Yeah, you still got time. You got plenty of time. You got plenty of time to finish up with Jujutsu. But we'll see where the story goes from here. We'll see. We got to see. We'll see where the story goes after next week's chapter on Sunday. We'll find out. We'll find out. But if that is all, then I think this is a good place to stop. Peace, enjoy my lunch. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, family's getting me food. Can't wait to eat it when they go get it. Got to episode 5 and got bored. I mean, unless you have nothing else to do, you can binge watch it, but you don't have to watch it all at once. You know, take it a day at a time. So you can, take in each individual episode. It's not too long, season 2, so you got plenty of time to get through it. But if there's nothing else for this discussion, I will call this Jujutsu Kaisen discussion a success. And that's all I got. I want to do more discussions like this where it's just my voice you guys hear speaking about it, and you guys just get to listen to it like a podcast, if you will. I kind of want to do it like this, so that way I can just chill, be up front of my mic, and I can I'm just more focused on making sure my voice is clear to all of you. I'll probably start doing things like this for stories like Jujutsu and My Hero and the other series as well. But yeah, I think this was a good discussion to have. Can't wait to see what the next chapter holds. And I think that's a good place to call it, because I need to farm for those Gauss Prime relics on Warframe, and then eat some food, and then prepare for tomorrow. But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. This was a good discussion. I was happy to have it with you, and I should be doing the same for other series as well, amidst the other things I'll be doing this month and next month. Because as I said, sure, I'll be playing some random games here and there for us to have some chill streams, but my main focus will be Kill the Justice League and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, all the way into March. But that'll be starting near the end of this month, and I really can't wait for it because it's going to be fun. But I'm done. All I can say to you right now is, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, subscribe, even become a member, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples!